people will be here, but people, they will come, Mr. Langford. You know why they will come? Because Mr. Anthony Hopkins just took home the
Chadwick Boseman's Oscar.
Hey, you know what? Sorry about it. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I've got to say about it. Because you know what? I am happy as can be. It's nothing against Chadwick Boseman because I do.
Sorry about it. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I've got to say about it.
Got it.
So,
sorry.
I was like, what is going on right now? Emma, how are you? Speechless. You know what's crazy? So I thought for a second that we were going to get the ending being Chadwick, right? You know what I mean? Like that was the end of the show.
That's what I thought that whole mix-up was, with like doing Best Picture third and then ending it with Best Actor.
Yeah.
Right. Instead, they threw a perfect curveball because they knew Hopkins wasn't going to be there. And like, all right, well, we're going to rush everybody. But I don't understand it. Then they should have given it to Hopkins. Like, I don't know. Maybe they knew Chadwick lost. So they were going to have to deal with that, I guess. You know what I mean? So they're like, you know what? We're going to rush it at the end of the show so people can forget about it. So yeah, I am.
Well, that's right. And that's why you do Best Picture last.
I literally think they did that on purpose because I think they knew what was about to happen. And that to me is just they kind of just sent it sailing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm pretty happy.
You know the 9 boxes: chaotic good, chaotic neutral. This was chaotic evil in its purest form. This entire night was chaotic evil.
Yeah. It's
and Frances McDormand too. She's like, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they did that. There was why you do that?
Jacob had kind of a good point about, he was predicting it. He was calling it. And what is it? 1938?
Yeah.
He's still trying to cope.
I'm actually shaking. Like, I'm very mad right now. This was like the worst ending to what I thought was a pretty good awards. Not that Hopkins won. I'm just saying how everything built up to the end. I think it's just a terrible from a producing standpoint.
I think they played it 2 ways. If they don't give Chadwick the Oscar early in the show, people turn off, right? You know what I mean? Like they just do because they're going to get mad. There's going to be some backlash regarding Hopkins winning. We know it's going to happen. Regardless of how you feel about the film from point A to point B, it's an amazing performance. And over the last couple of weeks, I saw it coming. You know what I'm saying? Like I just did. And I didn't believe it was going to happen because even at the end, whenever I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick with my gut. Anthony Hopkins is going to win this award. I truly believe that outside of just feeling like it because of the performance being that damn good. So I don't know. It's still crazy. Off best actor. Let's kind of run down some of the other categories. Everybody kind of got a piece of the pie tonight, except for Trial of Chicago 7. Yeah.
Right.
Tenet has more Oscar wins than Trial of Chicago 7 does. I mean, I never would have predicted that.
More Oscar wins than
but look at the other entries in the category with Tenet. Like,
hey, it doesn't matter when, who, what, when, where, how. It just, it happened.
Yes.
You know what? The Oscars like to mix some things up. I like that we were thrown a few curveballs, except for that ending. But with cinematography not going to Nomadland, like I was like, oh whoa, where did that come from? And then film editing too, like that was a curveball.
Song too. Song was
real
quick. After Soderbergh's last 3 shitty movies, we should have known this was going to end on the worst note.
I know, of course.
Off of the train of just specifically Chadwick, I mean, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom just won for costume design and makeup.
Well, it was kind of expected, to be honest with you, because I didn't think it was going to do very well in other places because it didn't really get the love, and especially in like Best Picture, it wasn't there. It was noticeably absent there. I mean, the performances were really the only thing that kind of, I mean, the costume design and the makeup were actually brilliant. You know what I mean? Because Viola Davis was just transformed in that film. You know what I'm saying? As Ma Rainey. So it didn't really. So it doesn't surprise me. Like I'm more shocked at like Song and really pissed about Octopus, whatever one documentary. I'm still mad about that one. But
what documentary did you want?
I honestly, I think I would have rather Collective won. I really feel like that was an alarming
Dick Johnson
documentary.
should have won.
Like
Dick Johnson is Dead should have been on the board, but
it wasn't, so it couldn't have won. So it was just an okay doc anyway. But Mr. Fox, that's a perfect segue to bring you in about documentaries, because we're both adamant about the lack of representation of good documentaries that we like. The 9,000 documentaries we had last year, those are the 5 that we ended up with. So welcome to the show.
I think I told you I thought that was the most shameful category in this year's Academy Awards. There were some incredible documentaries. You guys mentioned Dick Johnson was great. Rebuilding Paradise was one of my favorite movies last year. Boys State, I thought the Bee Gees documentary was great. I was not thrilled with the 5 we got, and I really did not care for my octopus teacher. So I was with you. I would have picked Collective.
Yeah, out of those ones, definitely. Emma, to you, anything to say about the Collective night as a whole? How did you think the show ran? I kind of enjoyed it, the intimate feeling of it. Kind of, some of it was cheesy. But
I did. I enjoyed the look of it. Was great. I mean, the whole point of the setup and the filming was to make it actually look like a film production and to look like a movie on screen. And you could definitely tell the colors were beautiful. I loved the different settings that they had. It just kind of changes some things up from the usual Dolby Theater background setting. And yeah, it was really nice. It was a nice intimate event, like being with friends and having different people in tables. Like I think Daniel Kaluuya was sitting with Glenn Close,
which ended up being the perfect combination. We didn't know we needed.
Combination, exactly. And then you have like Viola Davis with, oh my God, my name, I'm blanking.
Who is Viola with?
Vanessa Kirby.
Vanessa Kirby. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, it's a nice little mixture of people that you don't usually see together and people that you want to see together. So I thought that there were some good moments in there with just how things ran, but chaotic evil always reigns.
Yeah. See, the crazy thing about it is like for a hot minute, I was like, you know what? Predictable. And then it's like, let's throw a curveball. And that's kind of how they kind of set them up. I was kind of impressed. Any ones that you were very happy that won that were on that line?
I was happy with Sound of Metal, getting 2 wins tonight. I just thought it would just be sound, but film editing, film editing is great. I didn't predict that to win, but I'm very, very happy that it got a little bit more of a boost than I thought it would.
Man, there is some
same.
there's some terrible tweets going on right now. Sorry, what tweet just popped up in my timeline? I just was like, wow, that's insane.
To speak to that for a second, like there were some picks that we talked about where we felt like, we thought this movie was going to be written off and that movie was going to be written off, and particularly Father and Sound of Metal got a lot more love than I thought.
Sound of Metal winning film editing was the massive surprise. Like, if I would have been in my head, I think I would have probably ranked that maybe 4th or 5th in that category of all of films. I think everybody would have. I think everybody really thought it was going to be down to,
Jacob was really on
Nomadland.
Promising Young Woman for the editing.
So Promising Young Woman won 1 Oscar, which is not really surprising because it was like it's either going to win 1 or it's going to win multiple. But
should have won 2.
Well, it should have won actress. I don't understand. I don't know. I'm still confused.
I'm a little confused. Out of all of them, I did not think that Frances McDormand was going to be picking it up.
Do you think if the Academy Awards would have known how those last 2 categories were going to go, the producers would have rearranged the traditional award structure? because I felt like having Best Picture, having Nomadland already having won, Frances McDormand seemed like she cut her speech short because she had just been up there, so she didn't really give much of a speech. And then they end up the last award of the night goes to somebody who's not even there. So it's almost like, well, and we're over.
Yeah, to me, it's very weird. I don't know. Like the whole thing was weird to me. It just, and I think they did it on purpose. I really feel like they could not announce the best actor until last, because I really feel like that would have taken away from basically everything that transpired. And I know that's going to be talked about for how long, you know what I mean? Anthony Hopkins wasn't even there. I mean, it is 5 a.m. there, I think, or something like that in England right now, or wherever he's at. So, I mean, I get it, you know, it's a thing, but I don't know. For me personally, I'm happy. You know what I mean? I like chaos, but I mean, I also felt like Anthony Hopkins gave one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life. So
I just wish that it was ordered differently. Like that's what hurts the most. Like if it
I
had
agree with Ricky that the way that they did it, I understand that if they put it not at the end, a lot of people would have a reactionary response and shut it off, and they need their ratings and whatnot. But I agree with you. Like in regular order, would have at least not had this weird buildup of, oh, they're going to do some celebration and then.
yeah, because honestly, when you think about it, when you get to that point, you're really kind of thinking, okay, this is Chadwick's going to win, right?
Like I said, you're like, okay, right. Everyone knows we're ready for this beautiful tribute to this man.
Exactly. And then for it to kind of fall flat is really, I feel like they kind of maybe thought the other way around, possibly. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're just going to throw this here at the end. And, you know, we understand it's going to get backlash, whether it's deserving or not. Like we've talked about this so many times over the last, I forget how long this show's or the Oscar season's been going on. It's forever, but it's one of those, I preferred Hopkins' performance to Chadwick, but Chadwick's performance was good enough to win an Oscar, in my opinion, right? You know what I mean? And it's like vice versa to a lot of people. And I understand Chadwick's never going to get another chance, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that's where everybody gets frustrated, but at the same time, like we got left with one of the, you know, a breathtaking performance from Chadwick Boseman at the same time. But
and not just that, there's a step further here where genuinely, like, not even was he even nominated for supporting actor for The Five Bloods? I mean,
no.
He was kind of strangled from early in the process from a chance. And so it really felt like purposeful. Like, we're not going to worry about any other category because the actor's going to go to him.
I mean, I feel like Netflix thought this was going to be a shoo-in. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like they did. Speaking of which, Netflix won none of the big awards, right?
Did they?
No.
You mean like the typical 6 that we go for?
Hang on, I'm looking at all the categories. My Octopus Teacher, that was Netflix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Two Distant Strangers was Netflix. But basically, no, they won nothing. Wow. And I mean, basically they won the bottom awards with both Ma Rainey's, both Manx, and then of course so they didn't win anything. Damn. They shut them out completely. In a year where everybody thought Netflix was going to run king, which I still feel like that hinders Netflix. I really do.
I will say I'm always going to have this weird irk over Mank winning for cinematography because if that cinematography is specifically the area where they went 99% instead of 100 because they just didn't take into account the aspect ratio of the time period. Like,
yeah, I wasn't like the cinematography really was. I don't know. I'm not a Mank person. Jacob, you're quiet. You want to talk about anything? Hey, Emma, you're not, right?
No.
You're not a Mank person either, right?
No, I'm not. No, I was fully expecting it to be Nomadland.
Yeah. Unsubscribes from me. What's up, J Mike? My man. Jacob, to you. Thoughts on the night before we heard Best Actor?
I think everything.
Go back.
I honestly think everything up until even the weird like Oscar trivia moment. I think literally everything up until they did Best Picture was very good. I really enjoyed a lot of the show. I really enjoyed that they did the songs beforehand. I thought that allowed for all of the song nominees to give the performance that they wanted rather than being hindered to the Dolby Theater stage and being able, like Husavik, being able to perform in Husavik with kids from Husavik, and then have that huge firework explosion at the end, and everyone was able to give their performance. And I also think that allowed for more time for speeches. I thought Daniel Kaluuya's speech was really good. Thomas Vinterberg's was very heartfelt. Yunya Young was very good.
I wasn't ready for Wittenberg's. Oh my goodness!
But I honestly think the whole awards were just up. Even the upsets and everything were up. Then once it hit picture, like right before actor and actress, just fell straight. I think honestly the whole thing just went off the rails. Picture, they were on stage for maybe 30 seconds. Actress McDormand gave maybe half a paragraph speech.
I don't think McDormand expected to even be remotely hear her name called. I think that was the big problem with that one. I mean, neither did I. But
yeah, I mean, and then Hopkins wasn't there. Granted, if that's his time zone, whatever. But you got to think
90-year-old man or whatever, so I don't think he can really travel. So even though I know he's been vaccinated, because
you
my
got to
man
think
talks about it a lot.
You got to think though, like. I mean, of course, Hopkins has been there. He's won. He was there last year. He'll be there again in 2 years. Like, he's going to keep getting Oscar nominations. He'll keep doing this. But you got to think, if he truly, truly was like, this is the performance I want to win for. This is the performance that I feel exemplifies my acting abilities. You would have scheduled your day to kind of wake up or stay up at around the time. At least that's just me. But it just kind of ended. I mean, of course, like everyone's upset. I bet most of the people in the place were upset. Even in the in memoriam, it ended with Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, that was super fast.
And so it's like
I wasn't a fan of that.
It strangely was building up. The in memoriam ended with Chadwick Boseman. They were talking about Chadwick Boseman the whole red carpet before. They had segments on Chadwick Boseman, and then it was like picture, actress, and then maybe like actor end. And so I think everything up until picture I really enjoyed, and then it just didn't know what to do. Just fell off the rails.
I also don't like how far apart they separated like best actor from the best picture and actor actress, just because like I don't know, I feel like it all took away from Chloe's moment, like especially in the end when you're winning the best picture, and there's just she did so much for the movie. She wrote, she directed, she produced, like it's her movie, and then it was just so rushed, and
it just felt
I
so
genuinely
flat.
feel like, and I just genuinely feel like that laid out because of what happened with actor, right? If Chadwick wins, we're not even talking about anything other than that probably right this second. It's just about how amazing that moment was, how just picture perfect. I will prefix by saying this real quick, Jacob. You were talking about an 83-year-old man staying up until 4 or 5 in the morning to win his trophy. Let's calm down a little bit.
Well, hey, he can go to bed.
What's up with that picture? You know what I mean? What's up with that picture, by the way?
He can go to bed at 5 in the afternoon, sleep 12 hours, and wake up at 5 a.m.
But also, don't you think maybe he wasn't there because he didn't think he was going to win?
Look at the movies down there recommended for him.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking, Matt. I'm thinking that he just kind of wrote this off as, I got another Oscar nom. If
you followed me on Twitter, we know we wouldn't have these issues.
It's going to be 5 in the morning. I don't need to get up just to watch. I'll catch the highlights later. And then he wakes up and he's like,
and he hasn't won anything else. He hasn't won anything this entire cycle. And BAFTA was expected because it's BAFTA, right? You know what I mean? But
don't you also think Frances McDormand was really quick? I thought in part because she was just up there, but also in part because it seemed like everybody was waiting for this kind of grand celebration for Chadwick Boseman. So she just kind of gave a quick hitter. It's like, I'm going to sit back for that. Joaquin Phoenix gave perhaps the most confusingly stilted introduction to that category, which ends up being fitting for the way it just kind of petered out at the end.
That's what I said. I was like, I thought it was
like the air in the room went out and it sucks for Anthony Hopkins, who did a nice job, who's probably, this is always going to be remembered as the year that Chadwick Boseman got robbed rather than the
Hopkins winning.
I just tweeted it.
Know that, like, you know, when he won his first Oscar, he also like just randomly won the Oscar. Like, he didn't win the Golden Globe and the SAG before, so apparently it's repeating history. Itself.
I just tweeted, and it really sucks because, like, I just rewatched The Father. I love his performance. It's my favorite Hopkins performance I've ever seen, and he's definitely worthy of it. But how the show played out was in a way where I couldn't be excited for him winning because, like, I was so upset that Chadwick lost and then it ended. So it's not like I could go, like, I was left with Hopkins winning, and it just, like, for me, I just couldn't be excited for.
But that's okay. So
left with something.
Your statement right there is exactly why the Oscars put him on last, is because everybody was built up to this moment of Chadwick. We've built this entire season around Chadwick, and rightfully so in some aspects because he passed away. I'm on record. I'm great with the performance. I truly do not believe that Netflix puts the money behind him if he does not pass away. I think Delroy Lindo is the guy that we're talking about today, because I think they're putting $1 bazillion into him. And I'm not saying Chadwick wasn't going to get nominated. I do believe that he'd still be amongst the potential 5, but I think that expedited their process.
So you think they reordered the awards because they knew he had lost? I thought they reordered the awards because they were expecting that to be the big emotional capper of the night.
I think that, well, they know who. I mean, I do believe potentially that they might. I mean, maybe I could be wrong here. I don't know, but I do believe they did this on purpose. I really do, because
I thought they weren't supposed to know that only the PricewaterhouseCoopers people were.
I could be, like I said, I could be wrong, and I might be wrong, and I could be 1,000% wrong. But with how it plays out, if you think about this, Chadwick loses, then we give it to Francis, and then we give Best Picture, or it's Francis, Anthony Hopkins, Nomadland, right? You know what I mean? No matter what, once we get past the moment that Chadwick doesn't win, it's over. The award show's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just felt like it was over, and that's exactly what they did with it. Again, I could be wrong, but it just feels like that now because Chadwick didn't win.
Can I pull this away for a second to Best Picture?
Yeah.
Because with Nomadland, Best Director, absolutely understand. Best Actress, especially in collaboration with the director, absolutely understand. But other than Mank, when you had this category absolutely filled to the brim with, like, untold stories, different perspectives, and, like, so much to say, do you guys feel really like Nomadland is the one that should have won Best Picture?
Oh, no.
I can't bring myself.
No, but yes. I'm like in the middle. I mean, obviously, I'm on the Minari bandwagon. Emma, to you, answer that question.
I'm also on the Minari bandwagon, but at this point, like, I've accepted it. Like, I went into tonight knowing, like, okay, Nomadland is going to win. I would have loved to have seen Minari won, or, my goodness, A Promising Young Woman upset. Like, it would have, if there was a category to really shake things up in, I would have loved to kind of see that with Best Picture and really get, like, a type of reaction. But, I mean, I'm fine with it. I think that there are very beautiful things about Nomadland. I mean, that scene that they showed with Fern and the Nomadland.
Swanky.
Yes,
Swanky.
Thank you. Swinky. That scene, I mean, I was just reminded by how many touching moments there are in that movie, and knowing later that they do have, like, a little fire pit remembrance of her and they're throwing the stones in there. I think there are definitely beautiful qualities about that movie and totally make it a deserving win. Very unconventional year where it probably, like, if Dune came out, if West Side Story came out, and all the other movies that were slated for last year probably would not have even garnered a single nomination.
No,
I definitely feel like we're this is.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, Emma.
Sound of Metal's probably not going to be nominated for Jack. Go ahead, Jacob.
Oh, I was just going to say to Emma's point. I did. I looked it up beforehand today, and the average budget of a Best Picture nominee this year was right under 15 million, and the average budget of a Best Picture nominee last year was 65 million. And so the highest this year was Trial with 35 million, and it's like I don't think we're ever going to see another award show or season that has so many small budget films. Because not to take what Ricky was saying, but I agree. Sound and Metal isn't in anywhere. Maybe just it gets a lone sound nom. Promising Young Woman's probably not in because it gets released back in March or April or wherever it gets released. You've got Dune, West Side Story, movies like that get that kind of love. And these movies that are usually the underdogs of award season finally got there to be the giants of award season. And so I think that's a really thing to take away from this award season.
It's nice that there was like a different mix of movies. Because, you look at the Best Picture nominees just, generally, and like the types of stories that were told, from each of those movies, like they represent so many different groups of people, so many different experiences and backgrounds. And like sometimes you just don't get that. You just kind of get the generic, like this is the Oscar bait movie and blah, blah, blah.
I feel like of all the movies, like Mank was like that only really super Oscar baity.
That's like, here's Hollywood.
But there's like, it would have been the opposite.
We're in a weird parallel world where Mank would be like the Oscar bait one, and that one's kind of like a write-off compared to the rest of the list that we have, where it feels like the one that was not gonna win.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. Like, even if you look at the, Best Picture nominees last year, right? A lot of them were very, like, Jojo Rabbit's very showy, and Little Women. Those type of films normally get typically rake up. Like, The Irishman, 1917, Joker, Once Upon a Time. Obviously, had Parasite as that anomaly. But if you look at the way this is structured, Promising Young Woman's not even on this list because it comes out in April. Carey Mulligan's probably not nominated. Maybe the screenplay hangs on for dear life. But,
and as Jacob was saying,
it all depends.
One nomination for sound or
something. I think if we pick up anything off of this award season, it's 100% that it really comes down to what a studio decides to push.
Oh yeah,
advertise around award season.
That's basically every year though, because
you had the narrative to celebrate Chadwick Boseman as a legacy that will live on and inspire people. You had that reflected in the Five Bloods and didn't even bother to try.
Yeah, but there's a big difference. Okay, so there's a big difference between, and that's the thing. So Netflix had a problem in its hands. Okay, it had Mank, it had Trial Chicago 7, and then it had Ma Rainey towards the end of the year. So you have those three films that were, and Trial and Mank were going to be their babies from get go, right? When they signed Aaron Sorkin.
They only bought Trial because of COVID. Trial was going to be Paramount.
Well,
until
what I'm saying though,
late summer.
Yeah, but they bought it mid-year or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So they bought that with the understanding, hey, we're going to go full-fledged and push this to the end. So they had to put their cookies in certain cookie jars. The reason you don't get of the Five Bloods conversation is because of Ma Rainey, and I'm
just saying I know it came out later in the year. I'm just saying, if whoever was in charge of it needs to learn from this year, just because something came out near awards season, I disagree with you, though. That's when you pick.
But the only reason I'm disagreeing with you is because I believe that Ma Rainey came out at the perfect time. Like it swung for the fences as soon as it came out. Like it was, all right, Chadwick's going to win this award. Like it's been talked about, and if you put Delroy in there, maybe they feel like Chadwick loses votes to Delroy. You know what I mean? Like it's strategy behind the entire thing.
I feel like this year in particular, it's so much less about the stories of the movies that they're selling and more about the social conversation around it in the real world is the reason for making choices.
Yeah, but there's a lot in those. But like, if you look at each performance and break them down one by one, I mean, you throw Gary Oldman out of there because he just walked around drunk for 4 hours. But Chadwick's performance was Chadwick's performance was about basically escaping that that time frame. You know what I mean? Like you just watched him basically be a shell of himself. You know what I mean? Obviously, you have Anthony Hopkins escaping himself. You know, I just feel like, and even Stephen Yeun, I just feel like there's no way that they can push Delroy and Chadwick without potentially losing one or the other. And they have a lot to do. Like Netflix had a lot to push this year, and COVID killed the Five Bloods too. I think because if the Five Bloods plays in a theater to a screening room, I probably would have liked the Five Bloods better, and I didn't really love it. Emma, what do you think of Five Bloods?
I thought it was okay. I mean, it's not one that like has stuck with me throughout. I mean, all of the movies that we've seen this year, and it also kind of came out like a while ago, right? Compared to so many other ones.
May or June, I think it was, right?
Yeah, so it's one that I haven't revisited since that point. So I've kind of lost a little bit of the, enjoyment for it.
And this is probably a hard thing to admit, but I kind of feel like I'm going to feel that way by the end of this year about Ma Rainey.
But that's the thing. I don't think that I'm in a different boat with Ma Rainey. Ma Rainey and The Father. That's why there's conversations about those two movies, because they're both adapted from a play. One was shot perfectly. The other one, you're not talking about the film as much, except for the 4 nominations that it did get, right? Costume, makeup, and then the support or actress and actor, right? You know what I mean? And that's really all all Ma Rainey will ever be really known for, unfortunately, is Chadwick. You know what I mean? Like, and rightfully so. Yes. Rightfully so.
I'm a big fan of like the way that the play was adapted in The Father versus Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and One Night in Miami. Like sometimes movies that are adapted from plays, the dialogue is so long, like between any scene, and I do not like movies that are like that.
Yeah.
And it's like you're watching and you're like
monologue after monologue.
Like you're watching and you're like, oh, I get why this is a play. It's because this works on stage when you really.
I felt that same way about One Night in Miami as well, but.
And so, that's one thing that I, really surprised me with The Father, because, going into it, I thought, okay, we're probably going to get the same thing, but they just played so well with the editing and the production design. And when things like start changing, like a scene rapidly changes and you're like, wait, hold on, where are we right now? Like, how did this happen? Like, that was a very good play adaptation for a film, and using parts of the play that really work, and then obviously parts of a film that really work, and just blending the two together.
That's
sorry.
Production design. That's why I'm really curious about its loss to Mank for production design.
I had Mank winning.
So did I.
Manx was so much more like exuberant, while The Father's was very subtle. And I think once you open up the ballots to the 9,000, 100,000, 10,000, however many thousand voters, I think they watch Mank and they see, oh, look at how insane this looks, and look at how old school this looks. Whereas, like, not everyone's going to watch The Father and pick up on all the
CGI monkeys,
production designs.
Look at the monkeys. No, you do like get outside of the home, like where Mank is typing away on the script versus in The Father, where it's just within the confines of his apartment or whoever's apartment it ends up being at the end. And so I think I think of the grand dinner scene in Mank where he abruptly interrupts everyone and is prancing around drunkenly yet again.
So quick note, everybody joked about the BAFTAs after they were over and said nobody pay attention to them, and they predicted all 4 acting categories. So that's pretty funny. Fox, to you, you've been very vocal, obviously, about Promising Young Woman, but you've also been very vocal about Nomadland. I'm sure you are happy with the love that it received tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot. There were quite a few films in the Best Picture race that I thought captured different stories of different groups in America. You would certainly say that about Minari. You would certainly say that about Judas and the Black Messiah. We would certainly say, Promising Young Woman hit on certainly something that needed to be discussed. Nomadland in its own way, I wrote about it before. I thought that it really captured a segment and a people who got displaced and kind of had to find their own way forward. The fact that they used so many real life people who are in that life, giving them voice, was something very unique. I also thought it was beautifully shot. Probably the most surprising award to me was cinematography going to Mank. I, like you guys, had picked Mank for production design. I just thought they were certainly going to give an award to Mank somewhere. And so I wasn't surprised when it won production design. I was very surprised when it won cinematography. But I thought Nomadland was beautiful. It was one of my favorites. Of the 8 nominees, there's 2 movies that came available on digital that I purchased the first day they were available: Promising Young Woman and Nomadland.
I love it. All right. So I'm not going to keep everybody too long tonight. I'm going to pass it around the table. I want everybody's favorite moment of the night. It could be 2, 3 if you want them. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to be like, you can only give me 1. But Fox, I'll pass it back to you.
My favorite moment was Thomas Vinterberg's speech after another round. I saw all 5 of the foreign picture nominees. We were talking about the foreign language nominees, and there were some beautiful and powerful stories. I loved another round, and listening to him talk about losing his daughter and what it meant and dedicating that film to her made me love the film even more.
Langford, to you?
The screenplay wins, original and adapted. I just thought they were like perfect choices. That's exactly the kind of aspect of each of those movies that I would like to see them win for, even if it's not the only one. I just thought they were great choices.
I agree. Jacob?
I loved Vinterberg's speech. That one got me teary-eyed a little bit. I loved Yoon's speech. Was incredibly funny. I thought she was just an absolute delight, and I'm glad she won. I enjoyed Chloe Zhao's speech. I enjoyed Bong's presentation. I thought that was both great. I mean, I know it was during the pre-show, but I think one of my favorite moments was probably Husavic's performance. I thought it was grand, and I thought it really was able to highlight kind of the song and the town, and was able to kind of get out of that element and be what it wanted to be. And I thought it was probably one of my favorite song performances that I've seen from the Oscars.
Emma, to you?
I love that Daniel Kaluuya taught children about the birds and the bees very early on in life. That was just so funny. He's so deserving. I'm so happy for him, and I cannot wait for him to win many more Oscars in his amazing career. Very happy about Ye Jong-yoon, who reacted to Brad Pitt as I likely would.
As I would too.
And I'm happy for Chloe Zhao for making history tonight. I mean, first woman of color, second woman ever to win Best Director. I wish that there was more emphasis and honor put on that toward the end of the show versus things being rushed. But I'm very happy for those 3.
Yeah, I'm very happy for. I mean, a lot of tonight went as expected. I'm very happy for Florian Zeller. I love that dude. He's the nicest guy in the entire world. The fact that he won the screenplay, I mean, obviously it was tilting towards that over the last couple of weeks. I remember being told time and time again that the father wouldn't be a player at the Oscars, and here we are, and I'm very, very happy about that.
Well, you were told that because they waited till like March 50th to release the movie.
Hey, don't knock the style.
Yeah, the last second.
Hey, Nomadland was the first one. They were the first one that said, you know what? You gave us until February 28th or whatever to come out with a movie. We're going to come out February 28th with that movie. You know what I mean? And everybody else kind of followed suit, and it played in favor. But I'm very happy for The Father. It's my favorite film of last year. It was very well deserving of everything that it received. And I'm very happy for Chloe Zhao. That's history. Second time in 93 years, which that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
And first time ever for a woman of color. Like,
exactly. Even worse.
Really. I mean, Yoon also made history. I mean, first time ever that a South Korean actress won. And it's like, again, 93 years.
Yeah, it's sad, you know. And the first time we ever had 2 women directors in one category. You know what I mean? Like, it's just I'm happy for Emerald Fennell for screenplay, like as well. I'm there with Eric. Like that made me like. I know Promising Young Woman didn't do exactly what we expected it to do, or well, it kind of did in some aspects. But I really was hoping Carey Mulligan,
good one.
But Fennell winning screenplay, at least she's an Oscar winner now. Carey Mulligan, you know, lives another day to probably win one here in the near future at some point. But
get it?
Maybe.
Is this where I apologize because I'm sorry, Promising Young Woman, that I loved your movie so much that I put a curse on your winning any awards?
That's right. You called that.
At least it won screenplay, which is like a culmination award. So it didn't go home empty-handed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy.
I'm sorry, Carey Mulligan, that I did an entire column praising your acting career. Only
just Thursday.
Sabotage your chances.
The SNL trick didn't work either, I guess, huh?
Mm-mm.
But all right,
Elon Musk's SNL trick will work soon.
No, I've got nothing to say. Emma, where can we find you online, and where can we find your work?
You guys can find me on Twitter. I'm at Emma_Sasic.
You can find Matthew Fox on Twitter at Nighthawk7734. You can find Eric on Twitter at High Contrast Film FLM. You can find Jacob on Twitter at tberry57. You can find the 4 of our work over at themusiccitydrivein.com, whether it's our podcast or articles. Please make sure to check out the website. We'll be going full-fledged into 2021 Oscars. I forbid Jacob to even speak about them. Or 2022, sorry. I forbid Jacob to talk to me about them until June, but he's already been texting me about them.
Hey,
so and he's got an article coming
May
out
1st. May 1st.
May 1st. He's got the 2022 early Oscar predictions coming in. So
I've already got all the winners locked up.
Can we just
all the winners locked in?
Can we just sit with what we've heard?
Exactly,
Lady Bird.
I'm tired. I'm already tired of last year's. I'm ready to move on.
I mean, I'm just gonna forget about this for tomorrow. I'll forget.
Exactly. Well, what's crazy is like we literally blink and we're about 4 months back into this again. So like, you know, use that time wisely, you know, or just go watch.
We don't have time to. We don't have time to not think about it.
Go see Mortal Kombat in theaters just so that you can keep movies open. Just don't watch that movie though.
Please God.
I'm going to leave you on that bad recommendation. Thank you, Emma, for joining us tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the Oscars as much as I did, because you know what? Anthony Hopkins won. Good night, guys.